is hot today. So I've got this silly contraption on my head because, as you can see by the title of the video, we're going to be taking the G87 M2 for a POV driving review. If you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. Please subscribe down below if you like this video, because it will get me, the more subscribers I get, the more cool cars I get to bring to the channel to review for you guys. So as a quick starter, if you didn't know already, this is the BMW UK press car that I've had for 3 or 4 days. I've actually already done a G87 M2 review of this car from Cotswold BMW. I compared it against the F87 M2, but I only had that car for a couple of hours. And so I've had this for longer now, and I've actually able to find out what I do really like about it and what I don't like about it. But if you do want to watch the old video, you can click up here to watch that. The difference with this car though, I've got the manual in this one. So I've got the manual and I've got the carbon bucket seats. Being able to live with this car for the last couple of days has been really interesting. You know, normally you'd think carbon buckets are extremely uncomfortable to sit in, but actually I've found them to be actually okay. The fact that you have the electric seats and you can, recline them, you can get yourself into the perfect position, and actually they make them a lot better than the Porsche bucket seats. Those are fixed, you cannot, recline, you can only really go up and down, but these I've been able to find a comfortable medium where I can sit around and sit on the motorway cruising along at the right speed and not have any back issues. So one very cool thing about the new G series M2s is the welcome. You get this nice cool display, and this is the exact spec of the M2 that we're looking at. Everything's embedded in the menu now. I've kind of gotten used to it. If I go to the main menu, there are a lot of different things to look through in order to find the information that you want. That is a lot, and it's very overwhelming when I first jumped into it. But I've kind of gotten used to this new infotainment now, and I kind of know what I need to look for when I'm in this car. So yes, I requested the manual because the last car that I had was a ZF gearbox, and if you didn't know already, I'm not a fan of the ZF gearbox. I think the DCT gearbox was a better gearbox for the M cars. I know it was jerky, I know it was harder to live with, and the ZF gives you more of a easier daily use, which seems to be what BMW M are aiming for with this car. But I wanted to test the manual. I've got a 718 GT4 in a manual, and I wanted to just kind of, experience it. And you know what? It's a better gearbox. It's down to second. You have to really feel the car on those corners to make sure the back doesn't step out. Because it's turbocharged, I slocked it into second gear, I come round a bend and I get to shift again. So turbocharging it means I kind of get to go through the rev ranges quite quickly, and I'm interacting with the clutch and the gearbox quite often, versus my 718 GT4, which is naturally aspirated. So I'm always naturally chasing the red line, and because it's got such long gears as well, I don't actually get to interact with the gearbox that much. And this has been a welcomed addition to be able to interact with the gearbox and the clutch quite often and have a little bit of fun with it. Now, one main issue I found with this clutch and gearbox is the clutch is just a little bit light. It kind of feels like they've taken this whole gearbox straight out of a 220i. It's just a little bit bouncy. It doesn't feel, that premium. But then I was thinking this morning, well, in the long term, when you kind of get used to owning this car, it makes it more dailyable. And because this is quite light and easy, it means that it's easy to live with. The gearbox itself, the shifter, is quite rubbery, but it is quite notchy. This gearbox is the better choice out of this and the ZF, because there's something scary about driving with one hand on the wheel with a car that likes to drift and kick its back end out, and also having to shift at the same time. This car is so good at doing all the daily activities. You tone it all the way down, and on the motorway it's comfortable to live with. You can fit all your mates in the back, and then when you want to put your foot down, it can do all of that as well. Well, why not just save 20-30 grand and get an M240i? That also does all the good daily activities, four-wheel drive, so you can live with it day to day, and you save a bunch of money as well. So the M240i has gotten really, really good, and this, I don't think the gap is big enough to really justify the 20-30 grand. What I do want to say is this car is effortlessly fast. Like, I put my foot down and I look down, 2 seconds later I'm doing the speed limit. It is really, really fast. It doesn't really feel it. You can feel the torque and the power, but because it's so heavy, it just doesn't feel fast. And I don't know if I've been spoiled, I'm now numb to kind of speed. It is fast, but being so big and heavy kind of doesn't really remind me that I'm going that fast sometimes. Clutch in, down to second. This is one hell of a monster. It is angry, and I like to enjoy my car with a little bit of squirming, so I've actually not put the car into MDM. I've actually turned traction off, but set the traction level to 5, so technically it's kind of in the middle. I don't know what MDM is really kind of coded to, but 5 gives me a little bit of squeal, a little bit enough to kind of have to kind of catch the rear end, but not enough where I would absolutely totally bin this car. We are riding PS4S's, which are a fantastic tyre, and the sun is out today, so the road is dry. Oh yes. One thing I will say about this car is the armrest on this is far too high. When I'm shifting, my elbow is resting on the armrest in order to shift. I don't like it. I don't like how it feels. My elbow is too high. I'd rather have my elbow lower, and I can kind of shift with my elbow low. But yeah, I'm just playing with the gears with my arm fully rested, like in an armchair state. It's not great, and then when you're turning, I'm kind of hitting the armrest all the time, which isn't great either. So I could put the seat higher, but then I'm not in the correct driving position that I'm comfortable with. The M2 is extremely fun, and I said this in the previous review. It encourages the yob behavior within me. It encourages and makes me want to do drifts and donuts all the time. You can just really, really feel it wanting to do that. It's aggressive and it's playful. But like I said, the main issue with this car is the price tag and the fact that the M240i exists. I need to have another proper play with the M240i on a long-term basis and actually maybe compare it to the M2. But as it currently sits, I don't know if I'd want to spend this amount of money when the M240i exists. It is a one-car garage do-it-all though. You can take all your mates with you. It is extremely comfortable to ride on the motorway, do all the daily activities, but when you want to have some fun, it's there and available. And if you're looking in this price range, you'd be looking at the Porsche Cayman GTS 4 litre, you'd be looking at the GT4, maybe a bigger car such as an M3, M4, but this is the perfect one-car garage. You get all the new latest infotainment, you take all your mates in it, like you said, you can do all the daily activities, but it's fun when you need it to be. It isn't a super great daily in that it's not a Range Rover super wafty, but it's not super good at doing the really, really precise driving stuff like a Porsche GT4 in the exact same price bracket. But you compromise on the two and you get the M2 that can do the one-car garage do it all. And at the end of the day, like I've said, this is the gearbox to have. This is better, albeit it's not the best manual gearbox on the market. This is better than the ZF offering that they give you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, the usual, and I'll see you later in the next video.